Well, welcome. Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Sarah Donnelly. I'm the sales manager in Napa Valley for Bucher Vaslin North America. Bucher Vaslin, we not only offer Bucher Vaslin equipment, but we also offer a complete winemaking solutions with our LA enological products. We have pumps from Cazot and our bottling lines from Castrell. We're going to be discussing our line of Oscillys destemmers. Today, we are joined by a panelist of winemakers who will be providing insight and their experiences of using our Oscillys destemmer. Joining us, we have Stacy Horniman from Stone Street in Healdsburg, California. We have Kylie Evans, winemaker at Two Hawk Vineyard in Medford, Oregon, and Landon Donnelly, winemaker at Trinchero Napa Valley in St. Helena. Before I have each of them speak, I'm going to be presenting a quick overview of our Oscillys destemmers and show you a quick video. The Oscillys was first introduced in the market in 2011. So for the past 12 years, we've continued our research and development. We've relied on feedback from our customers to really improve our machine's capabilities. We've added some new options, made the cleaning more efficient, and allowed the winemaker to really focus on their sorting and destemming goals. Many of you are familiar with our Oscillys 100. This is our single barrel, or the Oscillys 200, which was our double barrel destemmer. Both of these have been discontinued and have now been replaced. The Oscillys 100 is now our Oscillys 50. The Oscillys 200 is now our Oscillys XM. And we've introduced the Oscillys XL for a higher throughput rate. Although the looks of the machines have changed, the mechanism for destemming is still the same. So our Oscillys 50 has a throughput rate of up to 6 tons per hour. This is still a single round cage. Our Oscillys XM, up to 15 tons an hour. This is a large hexagonal cage. And the Oscillys XL can handle up to 25 tons an hour. Again, this is a large hexagonal cage. The main principle to Oscillys is to separate berries from the rachis using inertia. How this technology works is that we know that the average weight of a berry is between 1 and 3 grams. So we're easily able to calculate the separation force required to remove the berry from the peduncle. This is done by increasing the weight of the berry by inertia. So as the cluster of grapes falls into the oscillating cage, the cage is sped up to, the cage speed is sped up and is increased to allow for separation in the open areas. This technology not only allows us to remove all of the berries, but we can also control what is left on the rachis. So in those challenging vintages, when you start to see you have more dehydration, you can slow the machine down and allow for only good berries to be removed. Or vice versa, you can speed the cage up to remove more fruit. This is a huge advantage for those of you that are using an optical sorter because you can really optimize your machine's end results by not having to remove as many raisins or green materials in your optical sorter. The design of the Oscillys is simple. We have an inlet hopper, which can be fed directly via an elevator or an elevated table. We have our Oscillys cage, no beaters, so it's very gentle on the fruit. We have our separation zone, where stems and leaves will exit out the front of the destemmer, and then berries will fall directly below the machine. The oscillating cage on the XM and XL cage are hexagonal. As you can see from the diagram, the pivoting connections rotate and oscillate the cage up and down. The Oscillys 50 cage is round and oscillates side to side rather than up and down. The cages in our new destemmers are all stationary, and they come in either 25, 30, or 35 millimeter holes. The size determination of these holes is really based on the varieties you're working with. We'd recommend either 25 mil or 30 mil cage for those who are working with the Bordeaux varieties. In the separation zone, the good berries will fall and the mog is moved along across the black rollers. The rollers now come on a hinge system, which really allows you to increase or decrease the distance between each roller. So for instance, if you start to see more jacks or mog falling onto your sorting table or into your bin, you can tighten the space between. Or if you start to see good destemmed berries getting kicked out into your stem bin, you can widen to allow those berries to drop. This is especially helpful when you're working with multiple different clones of the same variety, as berry sizes can really change from site to site, and it's particularly useful when you're working with different varieties. One of the most exciting aspects for our customers is the ease of cleaning our machines. The average time for one person to clean is about 30 minutes. The destemmer opens up, as you can see from the image on the right, to allow easy access and no hidden debris to collect. The destemmer has a cleaning mode in which you engage. This overrides the sensors on the doors and stops the cage from oscillating, but still continues to allow the rollers to stay on. Makes cleaning safe while giving you access to the inside of the machine. And because our destemmers take a lot less time to clean, you ultimately use significantly less amount of water compared to other destemmers on the market. And as you all know, in California, this is especially beneficial as water is a precious commodity and regulations are becoming stricter each year. The machine is also chemical resistant, so you can use your standard cleaning protocols, whether that's a sodium or a potassium-based cleaner. The machines can also handle any sanitizing agents such as PAA. We do not recommend using a pressure washer, or if you do, use it on a very low setting. The biggest concern is the black rollers are a bit more fragile. We also advise against ozone for the same reason. Those rollers can start to degrade. We've added some new options to our destemmers, which now you can customize. So we have this seed auger, which is number 1 there. This sits at the front of the machine just below the outlet of the berries. So the first 6 rollers inside the machine are spaced about 1 to 2 millimeters apart. So as any seeds or shot berries collect on the side walls, this auger can remove any of those unwanted materials. Number 2, we have the stem belt option. This is for Oscillys XM and XL only. So depending on your setup at your winery and your available space, you can put the destemmer in line, which will give you a better feed, but you can also have the option of removing the stems from either the left or right side of the machine. And all of our machines are adjustable and can be customized. You can customize the height of the chassis. The inlet hoppers are also customizable depending on the outlet of your feeding system. We have standard options, but can also accommodate any of the special sizing. And as I mentioned, you can choose your cage size. The overall benefits of using our Oscillys destemmer, you're going to have more whole berry, less breakage of berry, gives you higher yields, less loss of skins through your post-vibrating tables or in your optical. You're going to have a lower production of juice, so less table saignée and overall higher yields. Less stem breakage from the gentle destemming, less green material into your tank. The adjustable speed of the oscillation gives you the ability to determine what fruit you want left on versus fully destemming, and also gives you more flexibility for like earlier ripening varieties or earlier ripening fruit that seem to be a little bit more challenging to destem versus some of your later ripening fruit, which you can then slow the machine down and be a little bit more gentle. The adjustable separation rollers during processing gives you more flexibility with the different varieties and clones. The machine is simple to clean with one person, can be done in about 30 minutes or less. And all of our machines come with casters and can be easily moved. I now have a quick video demonstration of our Oscillys XM in action. All right. This drawing shows you one way to design your sorting line using some of our Bucher Vaslin equipment. As you can see, there's a dumping hopper for macro bins onto a vibrating cluster table for sorting, into an elevator, which is feeding our Oscillys 50. The red bin is the stem bin, and the berries fall onto another berry vibrating table before the fruit enters a muss pump. I'm now going to turn it over to our panelists. Again, we have Stacy Horniman, Kylie Evans, and Landon Donnelly joining us. Welcome, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Stacy, why don't you tell us a little bit about your setup at Stone Street and your overall experience of working with the Oscillys, some of the varieties you're working with as well.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, everybody. So we received the XL for use for the 2022 vintage. Stone Street processes around 1,000 tons of red grapes, the majority of that being Cabernet. We usually do process some Pinot Noir, but we were unable to process that through the XL this year, so I can't speak to the destemming quality of Pinot Noir. But as far as the Bordeaux varieties and Petite Syrah, the destemming quality was fabulous. We have a lot of small lots here at Stone Street, so when we're running, we really have to make sure that our throughput is fast and our quality still high. We have a lot of small lots. Anywhere from 1.5 tons to 20 tons. So this machine was able to accommodate all of our different lot sizes, making our tank transition sort of the limiting factor. So our setup is utilizing the XL. Our berries fall onto a shaker table, and then that shaker table feeds into a Wico 64-inch optical sorter, which maxes out at about 15 tons an hour. So in choosing this destemmer, we were thinking of our sorter. In the event we have some sort of catastrophic event where we need to pump up the jam, as it were, and get a lot of grapes through and into the winery, we can sort of bypass our sorter and run about 20 tons on the XL with really good destemming quality. For a vintage like 2022, we had lots of raisins, and so being able to hone in on specific settings for each block made it really valuable to leave raisins on the rakuses, sort of alleviating the necessity of our sorter to then be sort of sorting all of those out for us. So yeah, we are going to purchase this machine. Originally, it did not come equipped with a seed auger, so that was some feedback that we gave BV, and they are going to add a seed auger. So we're happy about that, keeping seeds out of our sorting system as well. That's sorting things out at Stone Street.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So can you tell me on the lowest end, what was the slowest you ran your Oscillys XL?
We didn't go under 15 tons. We were happy with the destemming quality that we were getting out on the other side. Yeah, like I said, we have a lot of small lots. So when we are running, that speed and that quality and maintaining those to get our grapes in for the day is really important. We did max out at like 21 tons an hour. I believe that was on some Cabernet from Alexander Valley, and it did a great job.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for sharing that. Kylie Evans, I know you're working with some other varietals than what we are here in Napa. Can you share a little bit about what you're working with and what your throughputs are and the overall quality of destemming with your Oscillys?
Of course. Yeah, so we have the Oscillys 100. So that's a little older model. It's a 2016 vintage production. And we put everything through it. So, you know, basically all the red Bordeaux, Cab Sav, Cab Franc, Merlot, Petit Verdot, Malbec, as well as Pinot, Tempranillo, Syrah, and Grenache. I've been incredibly happy with the outcome. We run, you know, we're a small winery, about 120 to 140 tons a year. So we don't run at those kinds of, you know, Stacy's speeds by any stretch. You know, I could process my whole harvest in about 3 hours. But we run somewhere, you know, usually between a ton up to maybe 2.5 to 3 tons an hour, just depending on what it is and how much fruit we have scheduled for the day. I've been incredibly happy with it. You know, we adjust the speed up a little bit, you know, up or down a little bit, depending on how ripe the fruit is and what the destemming is looking like. You know, I don't have really issues with raisins necessarily or things like that, but depending on how ripe it is and how ripe the stems are and what the variety is, you know, I can't run Grenache as quickly through the machine as I can Cabernet. Syrah doesn't run quite as fast as Cabernet. Pinot runs relatively quickly, but you know, it's just a matter of figuring out, you know, what the vintage is giving us and how fast we can run the machine to get the quality that we're looking for. And so we come off of our Oscillys onto a TR35 shaker table. And I like to have a relatively thin layer of fruit on that sorting table because I've got manual sorting going on after the Oscillys as well. And so we don't really try to push it too far, you know, too fast necessarily. But, you know, like I said, we started with the machine in 2016. When we built the winery in 2016 and designed the crush pad, the entire system was based around the Oscillys. That was the key component for us on the processing line, was to have the Oscillys in place because I had seen the quality that it produced at some places in Napa. So that was the key for us on the processing line, and I could not be happier.
Well, that's great to hear. So since you've had quite a few vintages to, you know, work with our destemmer, have you found it more challenging in certain years, or do you get an overall, you know, good destemming quality? You just have to really work on dialing in the speed.
I don't have any issues with it from vintage to vintage. It's just like you said, it's a matter of dialing in the speed. You know, just for an example, we usually run Syrah at around 7 to 7.5. Some years I have to run it a little bit faster. Some years I have to slow it down a little bit. It just depends on what the fruit looks like when it comes in, and watching the stem bend for the first, you know, 20, 30 minutes to make sure we're getting what we want out of it. And then, you know, just checking it periodically. But it's very easy to adjust the speed on it. And, you know, if we've got too many berries coming out, we speed it up a little bit and you balance the fruit that's coming through the system with the amount of stem breakage, and, you know, just get it to where we're comfortable with it. And that's usually, you know, very, very easy to do.
Oh, that's great to hear. I have one last question for you, because, you know, here in Napa, we are working with a lot of Bordeaux varieties, and we get a lot of questions about Pinot Noir. You know, our E series has always been the go-to destemmer for that. Do you find that Pinot Noir on that destemmer comes off well, it comes off whole berry. Do you have a lot of challenges with that particular variety?
I think with Pinot, it depends a good bit on the site. We've processed, not a lot of Willamette Valley fruit, but some Willamette Valley fruit. I see a little bit easier destemming with the fruit out of the Willamette as far as the whole berry component is concerned. A little bit more whole berry from the cooler sites up there. And with the warmer sites down here, I tend to have a little bit less whole berry, but we're talking about, with the sites down here, it comes off, Pinot comes off at 75% at least whole berry. And with the fruit that we've processed out of the Willamette, it's more than that. It's not 100%, but it's 85-90%, I would guess, whole berry. It shocks me whenever we process fruit how much whole berry we get. I mean, even Grenache comes off, at 50-60% whole berry, and Grenache is just notorious for not being very kind to the destemmer, or vice versa. But we don't have. I've just been very impressed with how much whole berry I can get out of it with everything.
Oh, great! Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And Landon,
good morning.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the varieties you're working with here in Napa and your overall experience with the Oscillys?
Yeah, so at Trinchero, we in 2022 did roughly about 300 tons. Of that was 165 tons, and it's basically all 5 Bordeaux varieties with the main focus on Cabernet Sauvignon. We did a trial with the Oscillys 50 this year, and the reason we want to do this trial is we have the E2 that's been the current destemmer, and I've worked with it, a few vintages here and other wineries. It's a good destemmer. It's a workhorse, but we found that our berry breakage was really high, and our operating speed wasn't ideal. We really the destemmer was kind of a limiting factor to getting up to about 5 tons an hour, which is our target. All of the other processing equipment, including our optical sorter, can run at that speed. So we actually used the Oscillys 50 for the total 2022 vintage, and then brought in the E2 for a couple trials to really see the machines next to each other with the same variety and the same tonnage of fruit. And so our overall takeaways were huge. The Oscillys, 78% less berry breakage, and it's really obvious for us to see that because after our destemmer, we have our shaker table with 2 grates, and so basically if the berry's broken, it falls right through, and so we can really evaluate that and measure it. So that's huge, big win on that side. And then operating speed, we were able to operate at about 5 to 5.3 tons per hour is what we averaged, which for 2022 being the compact vintage, it worked out great. So we're a small team. We do all the processing ourselves. We don't really bring in a team to help us with this, so that efficiency is huge. And then on the other side of it, cleaning is also probably about 50% faster than the E2, so we don't have to pull out the cage. It's a pretty quick process. So yeah, front to back, we're really impressed with the Oscillys 50, and in fact gonna purchase it based on its results.
Great, thank you for sharing that. One thing I want to let everyone know is that both Stacy and Landon this year were on a trial rental program with our destemmers. It's something that Bucher Vaslin has recently introduced. This gives you, the customer, the ability to try the machine before you purchase it, and make sure it's the right fit for everything you're looking to accomplish. We've had some clients come back in previous years and say there's too much whole berry. So we want to make sure it's the right destemmer for your needs. So please reach out to your local reps and they'll let you know a little bit more about that rental trial program. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. I really appreciate your time, and thank you to the panelists for all your insight. If anyone has